banned, deported, denied entry. Trump's 2025 immigration crackdown has hit these 10 Asian countries hard. Families are being torn apart, students blocked from studying, and workers sent back with nowhere to go. But why? And who's next? Stay till the end, because the #1 country on this list will shock you. And if you think immigration should be fair, smash that like button and let the world know. It was a quiet morning at a top US university when Li Wei, a bright young scholar from Beijing, received an email that shattered his dreams. His student visa renewal had been denied. Panic set in. His research, his future, everything was on the line. Across the Pacific, Chinese tech giant executives watched in horror as their billion-dollar deals crumbled overnight. The US had made its move and the world braced for impact. For decades, Chinese students flooded into American universities, bringing talent and billions in tuition dollars. But then US intelligence sounded the alarm. Academic espionage, technology theft, and national security breaches were allegedly slipping through the cracks. The Trump administration responded with an iron fist, slashing student visas by 40%. Li Wei wasn't alone. Thousands of students suddenly found themselves in limbo. Professors lost prized researchers, universities faced financial strain, and China scrambled to retain its brightest minds. Was this a justified measure to protect national security, or a political move with global consequences? In Silicon Valley, a CEO of a rising AI startup had a deal on the table, millions in Chinese investment that would take his company to the next level. But then Washington intervened. New policies banned Chinese investors from acquiring stakes in US businesses linked to sensitive technology. The deal was dead. From real estate to Wall Street, Chinese investors were locked out. Trade talks turned hostile, and Beijing accused Washington of economic sabotage. Was the US finally protecting its industries, or cutting off valuable capital? FBI agents had been investigating cases of Chinese nationals allegedly siphoning research from American labs. Reports surfaced of students and researchers with ties to Beijing-backed organizations. The fear? That American innovation was fueling China's rise. The Trump administration cracked down, arguing that protecting national interest was worth the cost. Li Wei packed his bags, forced to leave the country he once saw as a land of opportunity. Across industries, Chinese businesses and investors reeled from the shock. Some saw it as a bold stand for national security. Others called it reckless economic warfare. What do you think? Did Trump make the right move, or did this escalate tensions beyond repair? Comment below. Imagine spending years sacrificing everything, your time, your money, your dreams, just to be told, you're not welcome here. That's the gut punch thousands of Iranians felt when their visas were ripped away overnight. It started with a promise: stronger borders, tighter security, no more high-risk nations slipping through the cracks. Iran was put on the front lines. Trump's administration slashed Iranian visa approvals by 50%, leaving families broken, businesses failing, and students stranded with nowhere to turn. Take Sarah for example. A PhD candidate in biomedical engineering, accepted into a top American university. She aced her exams, secured funding, followed every rule. After years of work, she finally reached the last step, only to be told, no, no appeal, no explanation. Just a cold rejection and a dream turned to dust. This wasn't just a policy shift. It was a life sentence. Iranian doctors with contracts at US hospitals? Banned. Business owners ready to invest in America? Denied. Families desperate to reunite? Torn apart for good. It didn't stop there. American universities lost brilliant minds. Tech companies missed out on top-tier talent. And Iranian families? Many have spent over a decade trying to get a visa, only to watch the door slam shut in their faces. Trump's supporters say this is about national security, keeping threats out before they start. Critics argue it punishes innocent people while doing little to stop actual danger. One thing is certain: lives have been destroyed. So what's your take? Do you believe this is a crucial step to protect America? Or is this an unfair punishment that went too far? Drop a comment below. Let your voice be heard. And if you think this is shocking, just wait until you see what happened to the next country on this list. It's worse than anyone expected. Imagine risking your life for America, standing shoulder to shoulder with US troops, translating vital intelligence, exposing Taliban war crimes, only to be left behind when it mattered most. That's the chilling reality for thousands of Afghan allies who believed the US would protect them. For years, Afghan interpreters, journalists, and aid workers were promised special immigrant visas, SIVs, as a reward for their service. These weren't just pieces of paper, they were a ticket to survival, a way out before the Taliban could hunt them down. But suddenly, those promises were erased. Applications stalled, approvals revoked, and thousands were stranded in a country where their past allegiance to the US is now a death sentence. Take Omar, an Afghan translator who spent 7 years risking his life alongside US forces. When the Taliban regained power, he pleaded for evacuation. Instead, he got silence. He now lives in hiding, moving from house to house, knowing that if he's caught, he'll be executed, along with his family. His only crime? Helping America. For those who made it out, the nightmare isn't over. The US refugee programs that were supposed to save them are now slammed shut. Hundreds of families sit in limbo, facing deportation, rejected from the very country they sacrificed everything for. Meanwhile, reports surface of Taliban death squads hunting down former US allies, public executions, disappearances, entire families wiped out as a warning to others. And the US? Watching from a distance. Some argue America has its own problems to deal with, resources are limited and immigration policies are strict for a reason. Others say this isn't about politics, it's about honor. A country that abandons its allies sends a chilling message to the world. Loyalty means nothing. What do you think? Did the US turn its back on its Afghan allies? Or is this just an unfortunate consequence of war? Comment below. And if this shook you, wait until you hear what happened to the next country on this list. Is something no one saw coming? For more raw, unfiltered truths about what's really happening around the world, stay with us. We break the stories others won't. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's next, because trust me, it only gets more shocking from here. And just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, here's another shocker. Pakistani visa denials are at an all-time high, 45%. Nearly half of all applications are getting slammed with a big, fat rejected. That means students, professionals, even families hoping for a visit, all getting shut out at record levels. But here's the real question. Is this about security, or is Pakistan just the latest scapegoat in a political chess game? The official word? It's all about national security. The US is cracking down on applicants from high-risk countries, making it harder than ever to get approved. But critics say this isn't about safety, it's about power moves and politics. Pakistani nationals now face one of the highest visa refusal rates in the world, and it's only getting worse. Universities are losing bright minds, businesses are struggling to hire talent, and families are being torn apart. Picture this. Zara, a top-tier student from Lahore, just landed a full-ride scholarship to an Ivy League university. She worked her whole life for this, late nights, endless exams, the works. This was her moment. But just weeks before her flight, visa denied. No explanation, no second chance. Just like that, her dream was gone. And she's not alone. Thousands like Zara are left in limbo, wondering if they'll ever get their shot. Is this about security, or is it just plain discrimination? The US is losing out on brilliant minds who could be the next big thing in tech, medicine, and innovation. Businesses are struggling to bring in skilled workers. Even American universities, yep, the ones charging sky-high tuition, are feeling the heat from plummeting international enrollment. So what's really going on here? Is this necessary caution, or is the system shutting out the very people who could help make America stronger? I know you've got opinions on this and I want to hear them. Drop your thoughts in the comments, let's settle this debate. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. The next country on this list isn't just dealing with visa denials. They're facing an immigration crisis so extreme, it's threatening to collapse an entire industry. Stick around, this one's insane. And if you thought the last few countries had it rough, this one takes the cake. No visas, no exceptions, no way in, no way out. For 7 years straight, North Koreans have been completely banned from stepping foot in the US. No tourism, no student exchanges, no asylum seekers, nothing. It's the strictest US immigration policy in history. And with tensions rising again, the question is, will this ever change? Back in 2017, after a string of missile tests and rising threats, the US government decided enough was enough. North Korea was slapped with a full travel ban. 0 visas, no exceptions. Fast forward to today and guess what? The policy hasn't budged an inch. While other restricted countries at least have some way to apply, North Koreans, they don't even get a shot. Whether it's refugees escaping a brutal dictatorship or families trying to reunite, the answer is always the same: denied. Now, imagine being a kid, barely old enough to understand the world, and all you've ever known is fear. That's June's life. His father, a government worker, disappeared one night, never seen again. His mother? Arrested for speaking against the regime. That left June and his younger sister fending for themselves. One night, they made a run for it, crossing the frozen Tumen River into China, dodging border guards who had orders to shoot on sight. They barely survived. And after years of hiding, sneaking, and struggling, June finally made it to South Korea. From there, he tried to claim asylum in the US, a place that preaches freedom and protection for the oppressed. But guess what? His application wasn't even considered. Not because of his past. Not because of his background. Just because he was born in North Korea. Let that sink in. The US claims the policy is about national security, a necessary move to keep out spies and potential threats. But others argue it's punishing the very people who need help the most. So what do you think? Does America have a responsibility to help North Korean refugees? Or is this a necessary hardline stance? And don't go anywhere, because the next country on this list? Their immigration crisis is so out of control, it's shaking their entire economy to the core. You don't want to miss this. They ran for their lives. Bombs raining down. Cities turned to dust. Everything they knew, gone in an instant. For years, Syrians looked to the US as a beacon of hope. A chance to rebuild, to reunite with loved ones, to escape the nightmare of war. But now, the door is shut. 90% drop in refugee admissions, a lifeline cut off. In 2016, the US welcomed 12,000 Syrian refugees. It wasn't enough, but it was something. Then came Trump's policy shift. Overnight, the number plummeted, a staggering 90% drop. Today, fewer than 600 Syrian refugees are admitted per year. For context, the US takes in more Irish immigrants than Syrians escaping war. And it's not just refugees. Family reunifications? Blocked. Parents, siblings, children, kept apart indefinitely. Visa applications? Gathering dust. Years-long waits, no answers, no hope. Even those with US relatives? Rejected. No asylum. No mercy. Samir was 14 years old when his home in Aleppo was bombed. He watched his mother and little brother disappear under the rubble. His father, barely alive, scraped together everything he had to get Samir to safety, to America. The plan? Samir would go first and then apply for family reunification. A chance to bring his father over before it was too late. But then, the policy changed. Samir's application was blocked. His father's visa? Rejected. The man who sacrificed everything for his son? Left behind. A year later, Samir got a call. His father hadn't made it. He died waiting. Is this the America we stand for? The government says these restrictions are about security, keeping out potential threats. But when you block families, mothers, fathers, orphan children, is that security, or something else? Some say America has taken in enough refugees, that resources are stretched thin, that we can't save everyone. Others say turning our backs on Syria tarnishes everything America stands for. So what do you think? Does the US have a moral obligation to step in, or are these policies justified? Comment below. Let's talk. And if you think this story was shocking, wait until you see what's happening with the next country. What they're facing. No one should have to endure. You won't believe what comes next. One moment they were planning their future. The next, their dreams were dead on arrival. 60% of Myanmar's visa applications are now rejected. Students who once had scholarships? Gone. Skilled workers with job offers? Turned away. Families waiting to reunite? Left in limbo. And the reason? National security risks, Trump says. But who's really paying the price? Myanmar isn't a country most people associate with US immigration bans. But the numbers don't lie. 60% spike in visa denials, one of the highest in Asia. Work visas blocked, study permits canceled, even for those with spotless records. Refugee requests? Virtually non-existent. The official reason? Myanmar's history of human rights abuses, political instability, and ties to China. But let's be real, how does a 21-year-old engineering student from Yangon threaten US national security? Thane was on the verge of something big. He had spent his entire life working toward a goal, getting accepted into a top US university. After years of studying under candlelight, dodging blackouts and government crackdowns, he finally got his chance. A full scholarship. A new beginning. Then, the rejection email came. No explanation. No appeal. Just 4 words, visa denied. Case closed. His crime? Being born in the wrong country. Now Thane is stuck. His dreams shattered. His one shot at changing his life? Gone, thanks to a policy that never even mentioned his name. Some argue the US has every right to protect itself, that Myanmar's government is too unstable, too risky. But others see a different reality, innocent people being punished for something they had no part in. So what's the truth? Is this a justified crackdown, or a political chess move with real human cost? Comment below. Let's hear your take. And don't even think about leaving now. The next country on this list is facing something even worse. What's happening there? It'll leave you speechless. Imagine leaving everything behind, your home, your family, chasing the American dream only to wake up one day with an IC deportation notice taped to your door. For thousands of Bangladeshis, that nightmare is now real. Under Trump's crackdown, Bangladesh has become one of the hardest hit nations. Student and work visas? Cut drastically. Overstayers? Hunted down and deported. New applicants? Rejected at record levels. Take Rafiq for example. He worked 2 jobs, sent money home and followed every law, but overstayed his visa by 6 months. That was enough for authorities to detain him, strip him of everything and throw him onto a plane back to Dhaka. His American dream? Shattered. Officials argue this crackdown is about national security and illegal migration. But others say it's just a way to push out cheap labor and tighten borders. Who really benefits? And listen, if you've made it this far, you clearly care about the truth. We're bringing you raw, unfiltered stories the mainstream won't touch. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because trust me, what's coming next? You do not want to miss it. Do you support these deportations? Or should the US reconsider its approach? Drop your thoughts. We're reading every single one. And up next? The next country on this list is facing a visa ban so severe, it's sparking international outrage. Stick around, you're gonna want to hear this. What if your entire future depended on a single visa approval, and then, in an instant, it was snatched away? That's the harsh reality for thousands of Indonesians as visa rejections have doubled under Trump's administration. The official reason? Security risks and overstays. But many say they're being unfairly targeted, caught in a policy shift that few saw coming. For decades, Indonesians have studied, worked, and built successful careers in the US. But now, even those with spotless records are facing sudden, unexplained denials. Arif, an engineer, thought he had secured his dream job at a top US tech firm. He had the skills, the sponsorship, and the paperwork. Yet, after a grueling 14-month wait, his visa was denied. No explanation. No appeal. Just a cold rejection. I did everything right, he says. But it didn't matter. My future was decided by someone I've never even met. And just like that, his American dream vanished. It's not just people like Arif. Entire families are being torn apart. Students are forced to abandon their studies mid-semester. Business owners are losing skilled workers overnight. And with Indonesia being the world's largest Muslim-majority country, some believe this ban is about more than just visas. It's about politics. Now imagine this, you order rice with pigeon. But instead you get an empty plate. No explanation. No refund. Just a waiter telling you, sorry, we changed the policy. You'd be mad, right? So why should thousands of hardworking Indonesians accept the same treatment? Some argue that Indonesians have higher than average overstay rates, justifying tighter restrictions. Others see it as overkill, punishing thousands for the mistakes of a few. But what do you think? Is this a necessary move to protect US borders, or just another example of selective immigration enforcement? Sound off in the comments. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button because the next country on this list? Their citizens are facing a visa ban so extreme, it's reshaping international travel as we know it. Stay tuned, you won't believe who's next. It's a story that Filipinos never thought they'd be part of. For decades, the Philippines and the US shared a bond like no other. A deep alliance, a shared history, and an unshakable connection. Filipinos helped build America, from healthcare to hospitality, from construction to caregiving. But now, that door is slamming shut. Filipino visa rejection rates are at an all-time high. Mass deportations and overstay crackdowns are surging. Families are being separated, careers destroyed, and dreams shattered. Ask anyone and they'll tell you, Filipinos are everywhere in America. They're the nurses taking care of your loved ones, the chefs in your favorite restaurants, the workers keeping businesses running. Take Carmen, a Filipino nurse who spent 14 years working in the US. She saved lives, paid her taxes, and dreamed of bringing her family over. But when she finally applied for a family reunification visa, denied. No reason. No second chance. Now her kids are stuck back home growing up without her. And she's not alone. Thousands of Filipinos are facing the same fate. Jobs lost, visas canceled, futures uncertain. The official explanation? Filipinos have a high visa overstay rate, with thousands staying illegally past their permits. Some say it's a necessary crackdown. Others argue that it's political punishment, selective enforcement against one of America's strongest allies. But what do you think? Is this a justified immigration policy, or is it an unfair betrayal of a longtime ally? Sound off in the comments. Here's something they don't want you to know. Some of the very countries that once kicked out Filipinos, they're now begging to bring them back. Yep. From the Middle East to Europe, nations that once pushed Filipinos away are realizing they made a huge mistake. If you think this visa ban is shocking, wait until you see which countries are now desperately trying to fix their immigration policies. Watch 10 Nations That Regret Kicking Out Filipinos 2025 update right now. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.